So what is the key to a successful behavior change program? Why is that even an important question to ask? Well, a lot of what we learn about results in organizations is that results come from the collective behavior of people. And in fact, as I've gone and done a lot of work with organizations and a lot of leadership teams around this idea of culture, we found that there's many definitions of culture, but I've kind of honed in on the simplest definition that I could come up with. And that is the most common behaviors a majority of the people exhibit a majority of the time. And when I share that, and then we start trying to find out from the organization, so what are the most common behaviors that are currently exhibited in their organizations? And it's funny because they don't know. Because what's happened is as a leader, they have attached themselves to a small group of people. We find about 20% of an organization. We call them the top performers, right? There's the people that go out and they get it every single day. And in fact, 20% of an organization produces about 80% of the results. And so these leaders love these people, right? They engage with them, they're involved with them, and they begin to start thinking that their organization's a high-performing organization, and they lose sight of the fact that there's about 60-70% of the organization that's not behaving like these top 20. And so they begin to live in a false world, so to speak, that says, no, we're a high-performing organization. And when the leaders tell me that, I'm saying, are you really a high-performing organization? Or do you just have a few high performers that are making your organization successful? And when they look at that question, the answer is like, you know what, you're probably right. There's just a few people that are really, really going and getting it. So then the question is that then what do you do with the rest of those people? Who's developing them? Who's taking care of them? Who's leading them? And that's the question. And so a lot of organizations have this issue, they have this problem, they don't know how to resolve it, and so they develop these behavior change programs. And they're competency-based, and there's all kinds of things that they do, and they bring in and they spend millions of dollars bringing high-powered consultants in to help them develop these trainings and competency models, when in reality, they're missing the boat. The focus is not necessarily on the human and the behavior, the focus is on developing the thinking of people and developing the skill set of people. And they're missing the concept that, no, we're human beings and our behaviors drive the results. So let's talk about that. If you found that to be an issue, if you found that to be a problem, we're going to talk about how you now today, through understanding a model that I'm going to share and the process of implementing this model, can help you to develop a very successful behavior change program or initiative in your company. So let's begin with this Believe, Behave, Become model. It's a simple model, powerful in its application. If you can understand that through its simplicity, the power that it can generate for you as a leader, then you're on your way. So let's start with over here right at the very beginning that we talk about this idea of become. What we're really talking about is the results that you're currently getting as an organization. Are you happy with those results? Are the results that you wish could be better? And a lot of organizations understand that this is here and they're not happy with some results. But then what they do is they try to then just focus in on this idea of if we can just get people to change their behavior, which is actually a true statement, then we can get better results. And so they bring in initiatives that only focus on the behavior. So they come over here and they teach people how to do something different. So whether it's time management, for example, I've done hundreds of time management courses in organizations and people go through those and they're like, oh, we love this. This is great. I'm going to be so good. And they go back to their offices, they go back to their desks, and 2 or 3 weeks later, guess what? Only about 10-15% of the people are actually implementing what they learned in that time management class. Those top performers we talked about, they probably were already doing those kind of things. They just learned a couple new tools that help them even become more efficient and better at what they do. But the rest, it was a good class, a good memory, but they never really attacked, or maybe for a short period of time, they changed. But ultimately, they just kind of flow back into how they were before they went to the class. So when you only focus in on behavior itself, that's going to be a problem because you'll find that all you get here is short-term change. So as you begin this journey of creating a behavior change process in your organization, don't get caught up in this idea that all we need to do is change behavior. True statement, but just focusing on behavior, you will only get short-term results and they won't give you the lasting results you're wanting to do. And that is actually impacting your culture, changing, improving your culture so that you can sustain that change well into the future. Because that's the goal. Why devote time and effort on just getting a short-term gain when what we really need to do is focus and get the long-term gains that we all want? So as we look at the model now, we said, okay, fine, we've got the results. We're not happy with these results. We've moved over here. We understand some behaviors that we need to change and improve. So now, how do we do that? Well, we need to get up here into the belief system. We need to get and find out what's going on in our organization's belief system. I can also use this model at a personal level, but today we're going to talk about it from an organizational perspective. So when we talk about an organization's belief system, what I'm really talking about is three things. What is an organization's mission? What is their vision? And then the third thing is, what is their plan? That all makes up this belief system of what we call an organization's belief system. Clearly articulated mission, clearly articulated vision, and clearly articulated plan on how to then move forward with that vision. Because without those three components, I don't know what behaviors we need, right? If we're trying to roll out a new product, then we need, one of the behaviors we might need is people to be innovative. So that becomes one of our behaviors that we need people to learn to exhibit. And so now I can then go and I can obtain the training that I need. I can put people through that. I can obtain the coaching that we need to ensure that people can learn to become and develop more innovative methodologies and more techniques. That ultimately, through that innovation, we can get the result that we want, which is the new product or the new service that we want. But it's all tied up here into this idea of a mission and a vision and a plan associated to that. So I want to just break down very quickly, kind of in its simplest form, what this looks like. So here's our two components of an organization's belief system, a mission and a vision. What a lot of people don't understand is that they're connected. A lot of people, a lot of organizations, I've done a lot of strategic planning with organizations, and they create these great mission statements. They're almost more like slogans. But there's these mission statements, and they create that, and they spend 2 or 3 days in an offsite, and they feel really good about it, and everybody looks at that mission statement and says, that's it, that's us. Then they have another offsite, or maybe in the same offsite, and they create this vision statement. And it's disconnected from the mission. It's this whole other idea over here that says, this is who we're going to become, and this is what we want to become. And so we have this mission over here, and we have this vision over here. And then they try to put a plan in place, but what are they trying to really plan to is it's really hard. And so they struggle in executing strategic plans. And almost all organizations struggle with this because there's this real disconnect between these three things. So I want to help you now as you're developing this performance behavior change process in your organization, know that it's got to be tied to this concept that we're talking about, these three things. So when we talk about mission, what's critical to understand about a mission is it's what do you do today? That's the only question that I'm asking, is what is it that you do today? What does your organization do today? What do you produce and how do you produce it? That's the key. It doesn't take a rocket science to sit down and get a bunch of people in the room and say, so what is it that we do today, right? If I'm in the healthcare industry, we treat patients. That's what we do today. Now, how do we go about treating patients? Well, today you call and you get an appointment. You show up at a front desk. You check in. You go through this whole process. Then somebody comes and gets you and takes you back. And so there's a whole process of it. So it's not just taking care of patients, but we have a way that we currently do that today, right? And we need to understand that. We need to understand it. And everybody that works in an organization needs to understand this is what we do and how we do it today. Unfortunately, people don't understand that. And I could ask 10 people. I worked in a pharmacy, went in to help a pharmacy out and said, so tell me how you currently fill a prescription. And these are people that are involved in the process. And as they went through their experience, and I asked them 10 different people, how do you fill a prescription? I got 10 different ways that a prescription's filled. It wasn't surprising me it took like 2.5 hours to get a prescription, right? Because nobody had a consistent idea of what that's like. So that's the first step, understand how we do it today. Now, once we understand how we do it today, then we move over to this idea of vision. And that's how we complete our mission in the future, right? That's what a vision statement is. It's how so 5 years from now, we're still going to be taking care of patients, but how are we going to do that in the future? That's the question that we ask. So it's not a whole different idea. It's our mission, taking care of patients, but how are we going to do it in the future? Today now, my wife, some of her best doctor's appointments now are done virtually. She loves it. She hated going into the doctor and going through that whole process. She just now gets on the phone, the doctor gives her a call, she talks to the doctor, they work through whatever it is, and they're done. 5 years ago, you couldn't even do that, right? So that's the difference of creating this, from going from how we're doing it today to how we'll do it in the future. So that's the vision. The difference between these two, how we're doing it today, how we're going to do it in the future, the difference between those two is our plan. Oops. That is as simple as we can describe it, right? That's our plan. And then it's from that plan that then we identify, so to complete that plan, right, to help us move towards our vision, what are the behaviors that we need present in our organization so that we can accomplish that? So it's a whole system. So you don't just create a behavior change program in your organization and bring in, powerful consultants that set up great behavior change programs, when the reality is that you need to have clarity around your mission, clarity around your vision, have a clearly defined plan in place, and then you decide, for us to complete that plan, how do we need people to behave? And then you take those behaviors, you assess your people against those behaviors, you find out where the gaps are, and that's how you begin to develop a behavior change program within your organization and get the results that you're trying to get. So I invite you to call the number below, and if you mention the promo code YouTube, you can obtain your free consultation and get started on your journey to be able to help your organization establish a wonderful behavior change program.